At a rally in Florida on Saturday, President Trump puzzled many by referring to a supposed terror attack in Sweden that never occurred. Discussing Sweden's acceptance of Syrian refugees into the country, Trump said, "They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible." The former Prime Minister of Sweden, Carl Bildt, responded via Twitter by saying, "Sweden? Terror attack? What has he been smoking?" Questions abound. The White House has not responded to a request for more information. At a rally in Florida on Saturday, President Trump fabricated a story about a terror attack in Sweden that has left the country scratching their heads. The president, referencing the number of refugees Sweden has taken in, said, "Sweden, they took in large numbers, they're having problems like they never thought possible." According to reports, the Swedish embassy reached out to the State Department for clarification on the incident. A spokeswoman for the foreign ministry said that the Swedish government was not aware of any terror-linked major incidents.
On Saturday, President Trump made reference to a non-existent terror attack in Sweden, which he used to argue against the acceptance of Syrian refugees. The Swedish embassy has reached out for more information as to what the president was referring, but the White House has not responded with clarification. The former Swedish Prime Minister Carl Bildt responded to the president via Twitter saying, "Sweden? Terror attack? What has he been smoking? Questions abound." This remark from the Trump administration was the latest in a stream of misinformation about terrorist activities.
Former U.S. officials say Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu turned down a regional peace initiative last year that was brokered by then American Secretary of State, that is, John Kerry. Now, officials who spoke on condition of anonymity said the secret summit was held in Jordan and included Jordan's King Abdullah II and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And during that meeting, Kerry proposed regional recognition of Israel as a Jewish state alongside a renewal of peace talks with Palestinians with the support of the Arab countries. Netanyahu rejected the offer, which would have required a significant pullout from occupied land, saying that he will not be able to garner enough support for it in his hard-line coalition government. Rejection of the offer was an apparent contradiction to Netanyahu's stated goal of involving regional Arab powers in resolving Israel's conflict with Palestinians.
Germany wants to keep its promise to shell out more money for defense. The country is part of the NATO alliance. It's pledged twice, once in 2006 and once in 2014, to put 2% of its gross domestic product toward defense spending. But Germany hasn't met that goal. Now, Chancellor Angela Merkel says the country is ready to do more to get there. Merkel's promise comes days after U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis gave an ultimatum to U.S. allies in NATO. He told ally leaders if they don't meet defense spending expectations, the U.S. might, quote, moderate its relationship with the organization. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly urged allies to increase defense spending.
We strongly support NATO. We only ask that all of the NATO members make their full and proper financial contributions to the NATO alliance.
Out of the 28 member nations, only the US, UK, Estonia, Poland, and Greece meet the defense spending target. Historically, Germany has hesitated to up its spending. The country forks up a little over 1% of its GDP. The US spends more than 3%. That hesitation is due in part to World War II. Some still don't want to focus too much on strengthening Germany's military. Still, Merkel said she's committed to upping the budget. It'll just take some time.
The media did not make Donald Trump, and they can't destroy him. But the media thinks, and when I say media, let me define ABC, CBS, NBC, New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, LA Times, that cadre. They have a formula, they have a blueprint for destroying Republican political officials they don't like. It's not going to work on Trump. He doesn't fit that mold. They're trying to every day. It's kind of comical to watch.
President Trump's pick for the next national security advisor turns down the offer. Retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward declined the offer on Thursday, February 16th, citing personal reasons. He says that after a 40-year military career, he wants to take the opportunity to spend time with his family. However, CNN reports a senior Republican official says Harward turned down the job in part because he would not have been allowed to bring in his own staff. Harward served in the Navy for almost 40 years and on the National Security Council under President George W. Bush. He's currently chief executive at defense company Lockheed Martin in the United Arab Emirates. Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, resigned Monday amid controversy over contacts with Russia while still a private citizen. Meanwhile, retired Lieutenant General Joseph Keith Kellogg has been appointed as acting advisor. He's considered a possible candidate for the permanent job. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Matt Paul.
In the second unresolved problem segment tonight, religious freedom and same-sex marriage. Yesterday, Washington State Supreme Court struck a blow to Barronelle Stutzman, a florist who refused to provide her services to a gay wedding. Stutzman claimed doing so would have violated her religious beliefs, but the court ruled that she had violated the state's anti-discrimination laws. Stutzman says she now plans to appeal her case to the United States Supreme Court, potentially setting up a major legal showdown over religious freedom. Joining us now from Atlanta, Robin Biro, a Democratic strategist and LGBT activist, and from Orlando, Sandy Rios, Director of Governmental Affairs for the American Family Association. So, Robin, let me start with you. I'll play devil's advocate here. If a Christian baker refuses to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple, that's discriminatory to many people. But if a designer refuses to dress Melania Trump because of political beliefs, isn't that also discriminatory? What's the difference?
Now, I see your point, and I see your spin. However, she has a public business.
That's just asking a serious question.
There's a sign in front of her business that says open for business. It's open for business to the public, to all of the public.
Right.
Now, Melania Trump was trying to get a specially commissioned gown. That's a special commission. Now, if this florist wanted to just do specially commissioned flowers for people, she could do that, but she's open for business to the general public. She cannot discriminate against people based on their religion. Right. Washington State protects against discrimination from LGBT and familial status. So, I mean, you can't go down this road.
I understand.
It's a slippery slope.
I understand it's a slippery slope. And Sandy, let me hit you with something now. So if you're a Christian baker and you believe that it's a sin, gay marriage and gay weddings, and you don't want to align yourself with that, does that mean that every customer that comes in that wants a cake that may be a liar or maybe a adulterer or maybe a cheater or a thief, do you have to look into their sin history in order to make a determination whether or not you want to fire up the oven?
No, I guess the answer to that, Jesse, would be that you would have no customers, and you yourself could never bake a cake or do floral arrangements. Because we all got some stuff. Yeah.
Right.
No. The point is, it's not that you have a litmus test for someone's moral purity. The point is that Barronelle is being forced to embrace and endorse and give her artistry to something that she feels violates her religious faith. And I have to say, probably because we live in such a culture that's so removed from our morals, people don't understand that the whole union between one man and one woman started in the history of the God of our fathers in this country, the history of creation, male and female.
Yeah.
And the union of man and woman is sacred. And so what we're asking Barronelle to do is not embrace people. She's done flower arrangements for this couple before. She knows them. They've been friends for years. She was actually set up with this. It's just that because she's a Christian, she cannot lend her artistry to something that she feels is an immoral union that breaches her conscience.
Well, I did not know baking was art. That is great.
No,
you know what? I'm an artist.
Jesse,
because when I bake cookies, that means I'm an artist, and I'm just thrilled because that's the only art that I participate in. But guys, we got to run. We got to run. I'm going to go make some art later and fire up my oven. All right.
According to watchdog groups that keep tabs on digital privacy rights, concern over U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents searching the phones and other digital devices of international travelers at border checkpoints in the U.S. airports is growing. The issue gained attention recently after at least 3 travelers spoke out publicly about their experiences. One of the passengers was a Canadian journalist. The episodes have gained notice amid an outcry over President Donald Trump's travel ban and complaints of mistreatment of foreign travelers. The government insists, however, there has been no policy change in the new administration. The Border Patrol says searches still amounted to less than 1/100% of all international arrivals.
Finland votes to secure its same-sex marriage law after a petition demanded it be repealed. Same-sex couples have had the right to live in a registered partnership since 2002, but it wasn't until 2014 they finally approved same-sex marriage. More than 100,000 people have signed a petition to stop the law from taking effect next month. Any petition with at least 50,000 signatures is automatically considered by Finland's parliament. But lawmakers voted February 17th to reject the petition. Organisers of the petition argued a child should be entitled to have both a mother and a father, and that being in a registered partnership should be enough for same-sex couples. After the vote, Green Party leader Ville Niinisto posted on Twitter, quote, "That's it. The Parliament confirms same-sex marriage to be 100% certain from here to eternity. Happy weddings." Finland's first same-sex marriage will take place on March 1st. For Newsbeat Social, I'm Rachel Latham.
Et puis pour l'économie locale, le Calais a énormément souffert de cette crise migratoire. La position
on chiffrait
In dozens of cities nationwide, demonstrations were held to openly denounce the widespread corruption among France's politicians. A €1 million scandal involving ghost jobs has knocked longtime presidential frontrunner François Fillon to a distant third place.
From the beginning, Fillon positioned himself as a man of integrity, but he has joined all the other candidates as being clearly dishonest. Marine Le Pen is the same way. We don't have a feeling of hope that any candidate will improve our lives.
The list of France's top politicians is also a list of major scandals. Hollande, Sarkozy, Strauss-Kahn, Chirac, Juppé, Cahuzac, Fabius, Copé, Jean-Marie and Marine Le Pen, and more have all been at the center or convicted of serious crimes. A study in December showed that among those aged 18 to 34 years old, 99% believes their politicians are corrupt, often describing themselves as a lost or sacrificed generation.
There is no difference anymore between our two mainstream parties. The standard of living has gotten worse with either of them in charge. Above all, they have attacked our rights so badly that we cannot say that we live in a democracy in France.
With such widespread and legitimate concerns over endemic corruption, many here hope that the days of cynical tolerance on the part of France's citizens are finally at an end.
Tourner le dos à qui? À l'ensemble de la classe politique.
Our movement calls for France to turn their back on the entire political class. Once our politicians reach a certain level of power, none can guarantee to fulfill the mandate on which they were elected. Therefore, we need to change our entire electoral system.
Du mandat qui lui est confié. Voilà.
Organizers said they were shocked at the lack of mainstream media coverage for the demonstrations, considering the nationwide participation and urgent relevance of the issue. Ramin Mazaheri, Press TV, Paris.
More than 100 employees across the U.S. were fired after skipping work to take part in the Day Without Immigrants national demonstration last Thursday. Local news outlets reported 25 employees fired at a deli in New York. 21 employees fired at a boat manufacturing company in South Carolina, 12 workers at an Oklahoma restaurant, and 30 masonry workers in Denver. The nationwide strike was aimed at showcasing the impact immigrants have on the U.S. economy. Backlash on social media is calling on others to boycott the small businesses and restaurants that fired immigrant workers.
A drenched Northern California will get another round of heavy rainfall until Tuesday, sparking flooding concerns in the region. The new onslaught of rain comes as Southern California dries out following downpours that left 5 people dead. CNN meteorologist Allison Shinchar said in Northern California, storms started overnight Saturday with 2 to 4 inches of widespread rain expected. Officials are keeping an eye on the Oroville Dam after authorities last week ordered mandatory evacuations over concerns that an emergency spillway could fail and threaten nearby communities.
Many regions in Northern California were placed on flood advisory on Sunday, as approaching storms are expected to bring heavy rain, wind, and snow. In the San Francisco region, the storm is expected to drop up to 5 inches of rain through Wednesday, which will bring even more water to an area that's already saturated. The National Weather Service says the heaviest rainfall and higher elevation snow will be from Monday through Tuesday. The Sierra Nevada mountain range could see as much as 40 inches of snow in that time.
President Donald Trump vowing to drain the swamp. Our next guest nearly lost everything due to government regulations over a birthday party. And now that Scott Pruitt has been confirmed at EPA, she says the first place the president needs to overhaul is that very Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. Martha Bonetta was fined $2 million for that party on her own property, and she joins us now. Good morning, Martha. Thanks for being here. Folks, long story short on your story, the EPA came down on you and your property for a birthday party. What did it do to you?
An environmental group working hand in hand with the localities overreached, overregulated, and shut down our farm when we were in full-on harvest. It's a battle I've been fighting for about a decade now, and I'm still in litigation. But I'm very excited, as are countless Americans all across the country, about Scott Pruitt. He's going to be a breath of fresh air to the EPA.
So onerous regulations, inspections, looking for reasons to shut you down, and small violations and things that small businesses across the country deal with. You know, a lot of people, when they think about the EPA, they think about the Dakota Access Pipeline or Keystone XL or the big issues. But speak to what the small landowners or farmers or small businessmen have been dealing with from the EPA that you're hoping Scott Pruitt can change.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the regulations, the egregious, miles and miles and miles of red tape and over-regulation are crushing to small family farmers and hardworking Americans all across our country. One of the first things I'm hopeful that Scott Pruitt will do is to do away with rollback waters of the U.S. WOTUS has really been a problem all across our nation. Basically, it gives EPA power and authority over every pond, stream, and mud puddle all across our country. It's a great burden to family farmers and hardworking Americans all over the country that have to deal with these overly burdensome regulations, which, by the way, Congress never approved.
Sure, it's the vast bureaucracy that finds its way to expand any way they can, and they use puddles to do so, as you referred to on waterways. So
absolutely, and another place would be the Clean Power Plan.
Sure.
If we don't roll back those regulations, hardworking Americans all across our country are going to experience increased energy prices. And again, there's another example of where Congress never approved that.
Well, Scott Pruitt's going to have a chance to do it. Martha Bonetta, thank you for joining us this morning for speaking out on this issue.
Thank you so much. Thank you.